Hello and welcome to the first of probably and hopefully many episodes of the whole story, which is a continuation of our show or of my previous podcast and show that I've run in the past called The Game of Holes. We got a new name. We joined up with Talking in Stations, and we're gonna go see what we can get going. Let's see. Why is that? Um, okay. So, yeah. Can somebody from the chat confirm for me that you guys can hear me? Because OBS is not showing any movement for some reason. Okay. Sorry. No idea why OBS says that. So, yeah. We upped the production quality since my last one, so we're gonna see what we can do, and there might be a couple technical difficulties, so bear with me. But I promise they'll get better. We're already better than what my first episodes were last time, so we'll take it from there. So, joining us today, I've got a series of people coming to come talk with me. I'll introduce them all real quick, and then I'll give them each an opportunity to kind of tell you a bit about who they are. Um, Joining us today, we've got Zolka Lando,
Hello.
Rahne Sentro,
Hello.
Yan,
Hey.
and King Creator.
Hi.
So, for viewers that maybe don't know who I am, my in-game name is Exooki Z, although I usually just go by Exooki. I'm the CEO of the Dark Space Initiative, which, if you haven't heard of them, you might have heard of our alliance, Scary Wormhole People. And what we've done here is we're trying to put together a show to talk about wormhole space. So all of my episodes are going to be about wormhole space. It'll be news. It will be CCP patch notes discussion from a wormholer's perspective. It will be and one of my big goals is I want to just keep showing off and introducing stuff that's going on in wormhole space. So I'm sure there'll be some recurring guests that we see, but the goal is that you're also going to be seeing new faces pretty much every episode. Because I don't know how much everybody outside of Wormhole Space knows, but there's an awful lot of different corps, alliances, and groups actually in Wormhole Space. So the goal is to show some of that off and have stuff going on. And we're going to go and see what we can do there with that. So, um, without further ado, we're going to go back around and we're going to go a bit more in depth. I mean, they all said the word hi, but that doesn't tell you who they are. So, Zolka, would you like to tell us a bit about yourself? I didn't actually introduce what corp you're from, and your thoughts and yeah.
Sure, I'm Zolka. I'm director in Epicenter Syndicate. We're a C4 Corp who do things. I think we're probably best known in wormhole space for flying cyclones relentlessly and medium results with. I'm somewhat to blame for some of our doctrines and do some of the admin things as well. I bounced around Null a few times and then I went through a few smaller wormhole corps before I decided on Epson. I decided to join a corp as a line member and not do directorship again. That worked for 6 months, and pretty much just been growing since.
All right, great. How about you, Rahne?
Hi, my name's Rahne Sentro. I fly with Clay with a bunch of Hydra dudes, and I do small gang out of wormholes. And thank you so much for having me on.
Great. I'm looking forward to. I think you're someone I've never met before, and I think you'll be a very interesting person to chat and talk to about. Since I have a feeling if I haven't heard of you, so I'm sure some of the other people haven't. How about you, Jan? I'm not even going to try to pronounce the second half of your name, just like you told me not to.
I'm Jan Skshetuski. I fly with the Kronos ritual. I've been in wormhole space basically since 2011. I flew with Fade to Black, if anyone remembers them, way back then, who was an alliance of a bunch of different corps that all lived in separate wormholes. I then joined Carthage Empires, which was a C2 corp that went to C5 space and failed, as many do. I then joined Upholders and was with them until like 4 months before they fell apart, and then I joined Kronos Ritual. Then,
This is blast from the past. I think there were
yeah,
at least two corps there that I haven't heard those names in forever.
Yeah, I've been in wormhole space for quite a while. Like a lot of those guys, a lot of guys in the first two were like in wormhole space since like the beginning, or some variation of. But yeah, I've been in wormhole space my entire Eve career, and I just like it. It's pretty fun.
Well, great. Thank you for joining us. And last but not least, King Creator.
Hi, I'm King Creator. I run Odin's Call, or OFUC. Started off with in HighSec, didn't really know what I was doing. Moved to NullSec, didn't really know what I was doing there. And then went back to HighSec, tried to make my own corp, didn't really know what I was doing. And then went to Wormhole Space, and didn't know what I was doing there as well. And eventually some people decided to kick over our sandcastle. Luckily, Odin's Call came to save us, and then we joined Odin's Call, and then yeah, fuck, that was a long time ago. But then I started running Odin's Call, and I've been running it for the last 5 years, and now we're in a C2, C5 nullsec, where we do small gang and medium gang and wormhole stuff as well.
What is a medium gang?
I don't know. I don't like
bigger than small gang, but not big gang.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so large gang is like what, 100 dudes, but like medium gang is like, I don't know, 30, 40 dudes. I don't know, maybe even 20 to 50, I think is medium.
All right, I think there's a lot of medium gang going on in wormhole space.
So much medium gang.
Maybe that should be the new thing we broadcast on the Reddit when, at least once a week a wormholer tries to make a Reddit thread about how great it is. Say, come to wormhole space, we have the best medium gang PvP.
It's true though.
It's true, 100%.
All right, so one of the things I'm aiming to do every every episode here is try to do some news recap of things that have happened since the last episode. Ideally, we're going to be doing this bi-weekly, so that we won't be going too long. For now, for just this episode, I just kind of pulled up two of the kind of biggish events that have happened in the past couple weeks. So we're going to talk maybe briefly, maybe a bit more in depth. Well, I guess we'll kind of see which one ends up, how much discussion we get. But there were two notable evictions that took place in wormhole space recently. I'm sure a lot more than just two corps actually got evicted. But these are the two that kind of led to larger-ish fights, along with some of these are corporations that are a bit more noteworthy that might raise an eyebrow from some people, or at least their story's a little more interesting than Corp put up Astra House, Corp lost Astra House, Corp is sad. So the first, and one that I think King will be able to talk on, and I think Jan also said he could, is the eviction, or the evictions, maybe, would you call it an eviction of Wholesale? I mean, technically Wholesale is still there, right?
What are they, forces are destroying up?
Eviction attempts would be a more
yeah, just free content Astra houses and a content Raytaru.
And a content boost Ravenfleet, right?
Yeah, just for content.
For people that maybe hadn't heard or didn't know about it, recently, a conglomerate really of corporations came out and um, they all teamed up and they went and they started hitting wholesale's structures, primarily their Forzars, I think, in wholesale's C2. Um, Wholesale's Wholesale's had a bumpy ride the past year. Earlier in the summer of 2018, Wholesale evicted themselves out of their C5 after insisting that there was a conspiracy plot against them, and so they packed up and left to quote, save their stuff before someone else could. Um, whether or not that's really true, I'm not sure we ever got much stuff on that front, but they moved to a C2, and technically they still have structures up in the C2, but there's considerably fewer structures than there were maybe 2 weeks ago. So, do you want to give us some of the highlights? King, anyone else that wants to join in, feel free.
Yeah, so I believe Of Sound Mind decided to make an opt to try and evict Wholesale from past grudges, past history, whatever. And in that, the No Vacancies joined as well, and Hard Knocks on Laserhawks, and then eventually a few more dudes got involved. And they put down some Astra houses, some content raiders as well, and built a bunch of ravens, and then yeah, tried to evict them. Well, I don't. Yeah, I guess you could say it was semi-successful because they did kill the Fortisar, but not much else.
And from the kill board, it looked like the majority of the faction fort had been evac'd already, so it wasn't like
Yeah. I mean, these dudes have been prepared for this kind of stuff for a long time. Like, they're not the most popular group in wormhole space, so they know how to kind of. They had made many plans for that, so.
And now I'm curious as to why the timers were spread out over 2 weeks. Suzuki, do you have any idea why that? Because we were just on the other side. I mean, we had no idea why. Like, how did that happen?
You mean why were the defenders spread out so far from their structure?
Well, I've never seen, like, I figured like the longest that you'd ever see in a regular eviction is like 1 week of timers, because you just make sure to reinforce them all so that you wouldn't be in there for 2 weeks. But this one, when reinforced, it looked like it would take over 2.
I mean, I've heard that they might have had a feeling that this was coming and tried to spread out their timers. I think the attack actually just barely missed one of the timers, which is why it took quite so long. I don't have some of those details. Sound didn't want to get too deep into some of those bits because I think that they didn't want to give away some of the how they went about it, secrety OPSEC stuff. At some point, I think they'll release an AAR. But until then, I threw up on the screen. This is the battle report from the what, at least one of the final battles. This is the battle that Zkill is not actually listing it. So let me pull up the. We'll see if the BR in your space has it. But oh yeah, that's probably gonna take a bit. While that loads, so at least Zkill says there were over 500 people in that fight. Is that an accurate number from people that were there, or are we seeing just a tremendous amount of padding because of ships destroyed after they fell out?
I don't think it was that many people. I mean, the Raven fleet was pretty thick, but
Yeah, it was huge.
yeah, and yeah, I think it was a lot of it was a lot of people reshifting constantly, so that might kind of artificially inflate the numbers a bit. But yeah, there was a fair few dudes there. It was good fun.
Yeah, the BR looks like it's a little. It'll take effort to make the BR pretty. So Zkill wise, we're looking at It looks like 160 billion is lost on the side of the defenders. Does that sound accurate? Or do I need Ezekiel hiding all the juicy bits from us?
No, it sounds about right. I mean, they lost how much of those faction forts? Like 60 bill.
I think it was 80 billion he killed, and yeah, about 80 billion lost in subcaps and loot and whatever sounds pretty accurate.
Yeah.
So, for any of the people watching that maybe aren't super familiar with it, um, in wormhole space, when a structure blows up, everything falls out. Period. There's no asset safety. So sometimes it can be hard to tell looking at some of these, what was actually killed in a fight and what might have just been blown up afterwards. Wormhole evictions can also be fairly lucrative. If you're willing to put the logistical work involved, you basically blew up this corp and all their shit that they hadn't self-destructed or gotten rid of it's in loot cans now. Now, whether or not, so how did you guys pack up and leave with most of the loot, or did you guys just blow it up? Can you guys share anything about how the looting went?
Well, I
Yeah.
think. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, it was pretty. The first right tower we blew up was Hard Knocks, and I think we might have picked up the sabers, but other than that, we just blew up everything. And then the second round, we Hosa picked up everything. They have a lot of ravens now.
So you left a lot of the loot for wholesale to pick back up then? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, it wasn't like I wasn't there because I wanted disc. I don't think any of us really were. We just were there for the defense of Hosa.
Yeah. I mean, we were just there to kind of like even the playing field a little bit, I think, because it was like, this usually happens in wormhole space where one group is attacking and they look like they're going to win, and then a bunch of people kind of like bandwagon into it. That's kind of what happened with Stranger Danger, and fortunately they put all their tunes into this and couldn't really get back into their home.
Like I like Stranger Danger. If I could have
Yeah.
gotten into their hole, I would have helped them. Like I don't like what happens to them at all. In fact, a lot of members of Hosa were like that. They weren't like, "Yay, Stranger Danger's dying." They were like, "Oh."
Yeah. Pretty sad.
I mean,
but,
very few people ever get excited when they say inner hell burning someone out, though, right? Like, I think it's I forget who. While it was going on, I remember someone being like, "Yeah, Stranger Danger's only okay. I'm not really that sad, but it's sad to see Russians doing it." Was I think the comment that had been made.
Yeah. But I mean, especially with how big they are now, it's like they can just fucking steamroll any group. They have like, more than half the Russian wormhole community now in one wormhole. And yeah, they can form pretty thick fleets, as people can see with what they kill in nullsec and stuff. So
Yeah, we've fallen not once, but I think twice for the bait. You start trying to fight some inner hell, and then some, because at least with us, they love using cloaky Lokis. Their entire fleet is just cloaked covert ops, arty Lokis, and then they have Logi Lokis mixed in too. So like they'll dangle something in front, and you like form up and you go fight, and you're like, okay, we got this, and then like it's not that like they just all start appearing because they're already there, and then next thing you know, everyone's dying and screaming about Russia and communism music's playing. You know how it goes.
If somebody were to pose the question of like who's the baddies in wormhole space, right? Like I'd always heard for like the longest time, like HK Laser Hawks, these people, but now it's like resoundingly always inner hell.
It's always
go ahead.
It's always been like this weird misconception to me that Laserhawks and HK have been the bad guys of wormhole space, because like even from when we were first moving into our C4 that has a C5 static, if you rolled into HK, they were always down to have a fight in something, because like most people prefer to undock than not undock, and it's not worth their time to go evicting small corps. But there was still this like preconception that everyone had come up with that HK kill all the little guys and they're
That
destroying
can't
wormhole
be right,
space.
Zolka. I read on Reddit that HK was evicting all the wormhole content.
I mean, I think I
You can't
posted
lie
that on
on Reddit.
Reddit, but
You can't lie on Reddit. It's against the rules, I'm pretty sure.
Illegal.
100% illegal.
Yeah, would
I
break
mean,
the NDA.
I'm sure HK's evicted a couple people, but I think a lot of it's mainly just like HK wins a lot of fights and they kill a lot of people in nullsec, and the anti-HK brigade's generally been pretty strong on Reddit. And there's a lot of people out there that when they read something on Reddit, if they don't know any better, they just take that for the truth, right? I think this is especially common in wormhole space because a lot of people outside of wormhole space don't know who is who. They don't understand. They don't really like follow what's going on truly. So when they see a thread full of people whining about HK evicting, they just assume that HK is evicting everybody. Um, I mean, there was a period of time in Wormhole Space's history when I think that group, ironically at this point in time, they were evicting people alongside Inner Hell. That might have been the case, but that was a long time ago. So it would be silly for people to be jumping up and down now, insisting that HK is burning down Wormhole Space.
Yeah,
Another thing I was going to comment on though, I think it's funny because it almost feels cyclical that now, like you were saying, Russians, Inner Hell they're the bad guys. They're scary. Um, they can form a very impressive fleet. They know what they're doing. They can be very dangerous. Uh, so um, I just realized that I hadn't transitioned us back so that they could steal our cute faces. But back when Inner Hell was Blood Union, I think it was the same thing. Like Blood Union were the bad guys. Inner Hell was scary. Or Blood Union was scary. Quantum Explosion was scary for a time, and then Russians went back to kind of being unimportant and nobody cared about them. And now, for a bunch of reasons that I don't think we want to get into tonight, because we could probably talk on some of that history for probably 20, 30 minutes. They're back to being pretty scary.
yeah, but that's just like the general cycle of Russians. Like,
It might be something to be said
oh,
though that language barrier doesn't really help in terms of like thinking someone's scary. They probably seem a bit more scary if they kill you and then they don't say anything to you and then they.
I mean, they've been trying lately though. Inner Hell's been pumping out the PR video.
Yeah, I've seen it's pretty good.
They even got that streamer. It popped up on my YouTube feed last. I was like, "Who's this? What?"
Um, well, is there anything else any of you guys want to comment on regarding wholesale? We bounced around a bit, but if anything else that people wanted to kind of talk about or share, related to that fight, that eviction or invasion, content Aster House, whichever phrase you want to throw on top of it.
I mean, like irrelevant of who was evicting who. I think at this point it's pretty clear to most people that there is a problem with the Boosh concept. Really, it doesn't make sense. It gives the attacker an advantage based on the docking radius of your structure.
yeah, but I mean that issue's been kind of known about for a while now, and it's like, I mean, especially for wormhole space because we don't have the ability to reship pods. But glorious ex-CSM Brisru Ball said that was a last thing that needed to be done. So I guess his opinion really isn't valid anymore. But he had a point in that, like with caps, like really the only thing that you can fight caps with is booshing. There's no really counter to that apart from more caps or dread bombs. But just see the dread bomb.
I mean, it's pretty easy. You should just see some dreads.
Classic.
All the dreads, just put them in that C2.
You just need
For
to sneak
people
in
that
the
don't know,
Asbel. Just sneak in the Asbel, and then, just start building dreads and hope they don't notice for like 2 weeks. Isn't that how it's usually done?
I suppose we should tell the audience, if they aren't normally wormholers, that you cannot bring caps into a C2, which is what class wormhole this was, from K-Space or anywhere else. You have to build them.
But kind of linking it back to the wholesale thing, that was something. So with the previous eviction, there was, I believe, Hard Knocks got a spy in, so people were kind of memeing about the seed wormhole dreads thing, but that's actually been attempted. I think it was carriers, but yeah, people can get spies in, build the Asbel, and build and churn out caps to evict these low class people.
Yeah.
When go ahead, Zolka.
I mean, when was it Inner Hell were evicted from their C6 a couple years back? HK managed to get in quite a sizable carrier fleet, didn't they?
Yeah, both Lemon and Laser Hacks. I mean, that was a huge fleet of carriers. If they had anything near that in the C2, that would have been just as devastating as the Raven fleet, and easier for them to reinforce and destroy things. Luckily, they couldn't. So the 18 with defense.
I don't think we ever got the end of we ever got to actually hear or see any of the proof. I know what you're referring to. Wholesale insisted that they blew up their own Asbel, and they were insisting that they had proof that Hard Knocks had been constructing like well over 100 capitals in their system. Judging from the lack of anyone ever showing proof, I lean towards assuming that that's not actually the truth. Like they blew up the Asbel and then didn't find 150 dreads, which I think they admitted at one point, and then just said that's because they're already here. Tinfoil hat on, start looking around. They're like they're already everywhere. If you can hear them cloaked somewhere.
Didn't it drop like a couple hundred Tempest and Maelstroms? Maybe they just don't really get Mimitar ships and got confused.
Yeah, it'd be fun to talk about that in the future, but I don't think Wholesale wants to talk about that anymore. So that might have to just be a thing that we reference in the past without being able to go into terribly much more detail. I'm being told from the stream that capital parts to build some ships and a single Thanatos dropped out of the Asbel, which I mean would scare me too if I was Wholesale. So that makes sense. If we're done with Wholesale, I'm gonna roll us up into talking about Candy. I think I forget, one of you was also there for the Eviction of Stranger Danger, right?
Yeah, I was there at the very end.
We were all there in spirit.
That's
A lot of
true.
us.
I think a lot of us tried to get in, but Bob wasn't there for us. So I have a quick narrative. I talked to Romeo Black, who's the leadership of Stranger Danger, and he gave me a spiel that I will paraphrase to share with everyone. Since I can't get one of them on here. So some things that he wanted to know. One, unlike maybe Wholesale, Stranger Danger is at least considering it to be a very successful eviction. As of this moment, Stranger Danger has been evicted. They're not currently living in wormhole space. They are planning on returning though, so this is not the end of Stranger Danger. They're looking for a new C5. But funnily enough, that actually they kind of got tipped off and started to get concerned that Inner Hell was coming for them because they saw them in local. So normally wormhole space doesn't have local, but some people might remember that back in December we were having a lot of issues with the chat server, and on multiple occasions it broke because Tranquility and Eve actually loads weren't local, and then it just chooses to hide it. But everyone that's in your wormhole system is technically in local. It's just hidden from you. And so when the chat server broke, it actually just showed local. And so one of them was like, "Hey, quick note, there's a lot of people from Inner Hell in local, and they've been there for hours." Um, because some of the times that local broke, if you didn't relog to fix your connection to the chat server, it would stay broken for you. So people used this to hunt orc walls because they didn't show up in local. Other people used it to run through chains to go see if you could see who's in the wormhole system with you. But on one occasion, they actually saw Inner Hell seeding capitals in. They just weren't able to get a tackle on them. And then, they also just noticed that they started seeing, like, every time local broke, there was always the same couple people from Inner Hell in their system. So they said, wow, I think we're being stalked. So they knew they were seeded. They saw the capitals. They locked their hole down, and then they watched the Capitals leave, or so they thought. They watched some of them leave at least, but I don't think they really knew how many had been seeded. And then so this was back around Christmas time. Excuse me. It went a couple months, nothing really big happened. And they said, look, we know that we're going to get evicted at some point. So answering your question, 12 years since Hyde Stream, they made the conscious decision to say, let's just keep playing the game. Let's go have fun. Let's take fights. In this case, they wanted to go help evict Wholesale. Except they said, we're not going to let the fact that Inner Hell is going to come evict us at some point stop us. Which is probably good, because I have seen and heard of corporations that thought they were going to get evicted, and they were so scared of it that they literally fell apart. You could say it's ironic. Prometheus, Starfire, Tempest Legion, I think, kind of suffered from this towards the end of their time. They were so scared that Hard Knocks was going to evict them that they packed up and closed the corp. So they made that decision, and it did come back to bite them. So as a couple people noted, Inner Hell started evicting Stranger Danger when Stranger Danger had almost no one left in their home system to defend. So it was tough. So the only two things that I think are really kind of worth showing that I'm going to just show real quick so we can talk on. There were two fights of note. I think Zolka, I think you're actually in one of them. Oh yeah, you're in a Nina Zoo in one. So Stranger Danger pulled everybody they could in their home system together, and they made a play that you can see based on this, this kill feed here. It didn't go well for them. In that they they made a play with what capitals they had. Inner Hell had dreads. It turns out carriers don't counter dreads very well, so they died. You can see here they gave it a try. It didn't end very well for them. 27 billion is gone. And then after that, this is the second fight towards the whole timer of some of their structures. They successfully got some people in. How did you end up getting into their hole, Zolka?
So on the Sunday morning, a nullsec hole, like a very large nullsec hole, opened up to the Stranger Danger home, and in hell, for reasons that we're not entirely sure on, didn't roll it. They just left it open. And we formed up 35 people, just from, I think it was mostly Stranger Danger, and then a few from Singularity Syndicate, a few from Chain Smoking, a few from Epicentre, and we got a wormhole chain scanned out towards the nullsec and just burnt in there with nullified ships. It was after about 2 days of rage rolling in Chainsmoking's home, and most people had stood down at that point, and I think that was why they went for the earlier play for Whole Control. They realized that people weren't going to be able to roll in time, so they thought it's either now or never, and 3 a.m. tends to be the weakest time zone for Inner Hell, usually.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, I mean, I think that's what they were hoping for the first time, but it kind of just didn't really pan out for them, really. Um, so it looks like neither did the second fight, though. Would you say it was kind of a big fight, or is this kind of just a
It was, to an extent, it was going out in a blaze of glory, I think. The main Fortizar had already died, and they weren't able to extract many of the battleships from the main Fortizar, so there were only the Machariels you saw there was what was left of that. They managed to extract some of the capitals, but again, with limited numbers and the only entrance that they got being early-ish in the morning, there weren't a huge number of pods in the hull to fly ships.
all right? Anyone else have any quick comments they wanted to add while we're talking on Stranger Danger Eviction?
Just that they're a pretty great group with a lot of heart, and I would have preferred not to see this happen to them. I think we all can agree on that, though.
Yeah, rolled into them a lot. Nice guys. Always like to fight.
Yeah, wrong place, wrong time in Hell's Path, it seems.
It seems to be the case with most evictions, really, that you'd probably find if you asked everyone in wormhole space, on average, people wouldn't want them evicted because of a few fights that they gave, and that we all know at the end of the day you lose content when people get evicted.
Yeah, Romeo gave me some quick numbers. Stranger Danger ballparks it that in total they lost about 420 billion across their whole corp, 100 of which was just their two faction Fortizars. Um, Inner Hell, they think got roughly 150 in loot. When they said they lost, they self-destructed all their ships that they couldn't save once it became pretty obvious that it wasn't going to pan out for them. Um, but they did have a lot of freighters that I think I've heard they called suitcasing. They packed up all of their most expensive bits and threw them in there, um, and got that bit going there. So, um, yeah. So anything else? But yeah, I guess it sounds like probably not. Yeah, it's a shame that it happened to them for sure. I mean, I think it's a shame when really any active corp gets evicted, because I guess, the kind of thing that we concern ourselves with on some of these is whether or not they're going to come back. In this case, it sounds like they're going to come back, so there'll be another corp, but, sometimes when a corp gets evicted, they don't stand back up. Um, and I doubt most people would, disagree that, or I don't think very many people would disagree. The last thing Wormhole Space needs is active, less active corpse out there. So
Yeah, but at the same time, sometimes evictions depend on some people have these long grudges for ages or whatever, and they want to, take it out on them by evicting them. And, that's fair game. And if people think
sure.
that's not okay, then they should do something about it. And that's kind of what happened with Wholesale. People tired of them evicting people, and they formed up a fleet and tried to evict them. So
It seems it seems like it's been happening quite a lot lately, actually, like more often than I've seen in recent memory. Like,
yeah, I know, I agree. I think that's down to the lack of content in wormhole space. Though it's like you raid roll for 5 hours, you get 4 MJD and rattlesnakes, and if you evict someone, it's kind of guaranteed content. But obviously, it's not really a long-term solution to that. It's just like a kind of short-term quick fix.
that's why we live in a C2 null. Yeah.
Yeah, preach.
Well, with the increase in the number of farm holes that people have been going for, and the shift from, as you say, people used to farm in dreads, now they farm in MJD rattlesnakes unless they're in typically C6s, then yeah, you don't find as many dreads raid rolling your static.
I think that's a great topic, but probably one that I'll talk about with maybe some of you or maybe other people in a future episode, is talking about wormhole PvE and how it's maybe great or maybe the worst depending on your 2 cents. But yeah, with the last thing we need right now, I think, is more MGD rattlesnakes. Okay, so the next bit I wanted to roll into, and we'll try to move through this quasi quickly. Because we're at 45 minutes. We're not attached to it unless any of you guys need to skedaddle. I know Zolka probably wants to leave sooner rather than later. Just wanted to hear from each of you guys, specifically with your corporations. Why are you doing what you do in wormhole space? If you feel like you need to expand on what it is you're doing, if you go for it. But why are you guys all wormholers? We haven't heard much from you. Do you want to talk, Rahne?
The only way to buy a Sure. I mean, I like it because it's really the only effective way to roam and bypass local.
And you guys are also set up in a 2 static 5 static null, right?
Yeah, we're Code's Wormhole Division.
Code's wormhole division. That's I don't know. Do people even know wormhole? Code has a wormhole division.
No, but that's kind of what makes it great, because people love to fight us.
Well, we won't scare everyone away then. We won't give away all of your secrets here. I guess Jan and Kang, you guys are both also C2 static 5 static null. Is that right?
Yippers.
Yeah, it's best for content. If you want content, you move to a C2, C5 null sec. In my view, you rage roll the null sec for a few hours, and you get a lot more content than you would do rage rolling the C5 and get like 2 MJDing rattlesnakes, or the same groups that you always roll into that either tell you they can't fight, or you just have the same like kind of armor brawl, which doesn't. I still find fun, but I don't know. It's just too and few far between.
Yeah, for us, it's basically a content generator. Oh, let's roll it. Frat's blobbing way too much. Can't fight this. Let's fight. Or I mean, we do roll our C5 and get stuff every once in a while, but that's way less often than like just rolling our null and like, oh, let's gate camp over here for a few minutes and see if we can't catch something in delve, because that's the fun way to fight in delve. Or oh gosh, we're real close to GE or OTEC V. Let's well, it's not OTEC V anymore. It's not as popular as their new staging. But yeah, just burn a bunch of little stuff and die in a ball of fire to Brave, who always fight, or Horde that always fights, and just have fun, enjoy yourselves. Ronnie and the Code lads, I mean, we've met up with them a few times in OTEC V, and it's a lot of fun to like set up bubble camps and like watch like one little procurer turn into an all-out like 100-man fleet coming after you or something crazy.
Yeah. And the best thing is, if it's just too much, you just roll and you get into a completely new region with new people, and it's kind of back to square one, and it's.
Are you never scared that Goon Swarm's gonna come into your wormhole and kick over your stuff?
People come in all the time.
I don't know if you guys saw Inner Hell actually. They lost a Rorqual in their home system C2 static null to Goon Swarm today.
Yeah, I mean, we don't rock mine, so we don't really need to worry about that.
Right. So if anyone here was trying to figure out which wormhole corp to join for that dank fork mining, it's not Odin's call.
No, definitely not.
I have
no spot brains allowed.
I have an example.
Go
One
for it.
second. I'll link to you so you can link for the podcast of Frat coming into our space. It's just good times. Cool from HK is always talking to me and praise Bob. He's like, let me get a dread alt in there and just ping me when Frat comes in your.
Sounds reliable.
It's so funny. Yeah, like if you can just provoke them enough, because some of the bigger groups love like just like putting supers all over the place on your hull. It's just hilarious.
What even
'Cause
is this? This is
they
like
just
the most kitchen sink fleet on both sides I've seen in a while.
most of our stuff's just like range damage, and then we dropped cat. It's so stupid.
What is this? You didn't follow the free cap Bushido? What the fuck?
Not against null bears.
That's a violation of some sort of rules. Code's gonna come smack you. The wormhole division will enforce wormhole rules.
How many
That's a
coins got deducted there?
-10. -10.
We paid for a license. We know a few of the code lads pretty well. It's just funny. I don't know. I enjoy it.
Yeah, I think nullsec, like, just nullsec's more entertaining, man. You just get, weirder people coming into your hole, just spouting off bullshit, being salty or whatever. With wormholes, it's just stale. It's just they don't speak in local and they don't complain too much. With nullsecers, it's good fun. Very good fun.
I'm honestly surprised that more of the big groups don't move to C2 static C5 static nulls. I mean, it's just like it's so much fun. Like I was afraid that HK was gonna break apart. When I heard they were moving to a C2 null, I was like, yeah, that's the way to do it. And they're super happy there. They're just super active now. And I'm surprised Laserhawks hasn't.
Yeah. Well, there's still time, man.
Maybe they go for our hole next. No, I doubt it. I doubt it.
But that is a curse. Like the people used to talk about the C2, C5 nullsec curse, where people would move in because it's like everyone's talking about how good the content is, and then people get tired of rage rolling, people get tired of roaming. The same 3-4 dudes are always looking for PvP get tired, and the corp disbands or whatever. So it's happened to so many groups, like even the OGs like Hotline or whatever, and can't really think of
It's
anyone.
tough. Well, so Zolka, so you don't live in a 2 static null.
No, just sitting here quietly hearing that there's no content in wormhole space and it's plenty active for us.
So tell us about how Wasteland's wormhole space is and why your corp doesn't get any content, since that's what King said.
Yeah, I mean, like you roll the holes and then you see 3 C5s in a row and everyone starts leaving the corp. It's really weird. But on a more serious level, you do have to scan a bit deeper now rather than just rolling your statics and looking for people ratting. And you do find content. There are lots of corps out there in wormhole space that will fight you. Sometimes you have to take something engageable, and turning up with a 20-man armor fleet, they might decide that that's not going to be a fun time. But it turns out that almost everyone will fight cyclones because they're cyclones.
Hi, so sorry to interrupt, but I really have to go. You said an hour, but it's been really great listening and talking. Thank you so much for the opportunity, but I have to go.
Thanks for joining us. All right. Well, so we're gonna bounce to the last topic that I wanted to kind of pick a couple of your brains with us while I've got before, and we'll try to wrap this up. Patch notes. So I'm sure there's like plenty of different groups out there have already, shows have probably already sat and chatted about, oh, here's what the stuff happening tomorrow. Plenty of grumpy range Reddit threads. What do you guys think are the most relevant pieces as far as wormhole space goes related to patches coming in tomorrow?
Now, when you say wormhole space, is it just like kind of in it? Because I mean, me and Jan live in a C2, C5 null site, so we mainly operate in null site, to be honest.
Well, so I mean, but you're not nullsecers, right? So
No,
your
God,
people,
no.
you're hunting in nullsec, but you live in a wormhole. So what changes coming tomorrow would you say are relevant to you guys as wormholers?
As wormholers, it's going to be refreshing to see what TD Sim bring to fight, seeing as they can't bring dealers anymore, unless they want to lose all their drones in 4 seconds.
Joke's on you. We're gonna lose at least 3 Gila fleets before we realize they don't work anymore.
Is this just the stocks that you need to get rid of?
I mean,
'Cause,
I don't know what else we'll do. I mean, can you even PvP without Gilas?
I don't think so. We helpfully removed a few of them pre-patch because we thought we would try and shift you onto the new meta, but it doesn't seem to have worked.
Is Cyclones the new direction? They're buffing Cyclones tomorrow. Is
That 25 CPU makes the best ship in the game easily.
all right?
They're also hitting the Ferox, which will be nice to see. Hopefully, it'll hurt the Ferox fleets in a little bit, which I'd like to see.
It's not enough,
basically
though.
going to be like about the same as a Nesta, and with the increase in mass and decreased velocity, it will get like for nullsec fights, it'll be tracked by battleships so easily. But in smaller gang, it might not make so much of a difference.
I think the problem still is the same for the Ferox with the range, mainly of it. I mean, it's the main counter to a Munion fleet, really. It's the range is rails. Rails is what's broken. Fuck rails.
How about that dank medium beam laser range bonus? Do you guys see? You think the beams are coming back?
No, beams is still trash. It's not enough.
I like seeing CCP change things that aren't used sometimes to get a bit more out of them, but I haven't. Yeah, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. Like anti-support gets a bit more range, but if you're flying anti-support beams, it's already got enough range most of the time.
I feel like sometimes also it can take a while for people to really appreciate some of the changes. You might not see, like beam harbingers suddenly rolling around everywhere, but you might down the line, especially as they make changes to other ships, where suddenly, the ships that they just changed now might end up being better choices moving forward.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see some Abaddons now, like Abaddons with actual lasers fit would be nice.
I bought a new solo Abaddon today. It's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, and also the VNI. Oh my god, I'm so happy about the changes for the VNI. No more, drone aggro, AFK, VNI blapping, scepters.
So any
Is
any other bits? Are you guys excited about the Rorqual changes?
Me, yeah, heck yeah, I'm excited. Oh my gosh, between that and the NSA and I mean, this could totally change hunting. Like if so, like the Rorqual changes are going to mean that we don't have to have as much on field to break a Rorqual, which is incredible. And the NSA change means that either people that are running sites need to completely nerf their mids to make it so they can lock stuff fast, or they're stuck on grid for the entire cycle of an NSA. Either way, we have more opportunities now because of that.
Yeah. I'm just like, all those changes are pretty good for us, but I'm just a bit worried that it might have been a bit too much in the sense that we won't see many carriers and many supers and many rogues. Well, not as many as we see in space at the moment. Or they'll just kind of agglomerate to the same area that's under protection of Supercap umbrella that can come instantly to protect. It's just gonna, especially with kind of cloaky camping and everything as well. And I just think it's kind of gonna push people into more concentrated areas and groups, which I'm
Which
a
is
little bit
probably
worried about.
not good. All right. Anything else that you guys wanted to shout out or throw out there while we got everybody? We're, peaking on around an hour now, so I think if everybody's good, then we can wrap it up here. If you want to stay, normally what we sometimes do is we have the people and we hop up into the public. Although, funnily enough, it looks like there's already a million people in the public channel probably talking about not what we're doing right now. So I don't know if there's going to be anybody that wants to come out for Q&A or talk about the show, but I'll be available somewhere to try to do that. So I want to thank everybody for coming out. Rahne already left, but Zolka, Jan, King, thanks for coming out. Everybody that was watching now while we're live or later as recordings, I'd love some feedback. If you guys want to, let us know it was good, it wasn't good. I'd like to see more of XYZ. This was the first one. The current plan is to try to have another episode in 2 weeks from now. So that we can, and we'll just keep the wormhole content train rolling. So let me know what you guys think. Oh, that's a really good catch, King. So one of the things, so I think we could do this real quick. It'll be a fun thing to end on. King's got a really, hopefully, great story. I don't know if this actually made I don't know if this really made Reddit ripples to everybody. Odin's Call actually got an Erebus as loot out of an offline pos that they blew up recently. Do you guys can you tell us much on that, King?
Yeah, sure. So, Superior Odin's Call US time zone, just roaming around. And one of the dudes that's always kind of pays attention to this and has got his, capital drops from this kind of shit before. Tarchar, shout out to Tarchar. And yeah, he sees an offline XLSMA, so we walk to it and we kill it. And lo and behold, there's a fucking Erebus in it. And obviously, everyone starts like kind of, turning ape-like, but it's pretty entertaining. And yeah, so we take the Erebus, and now +1 Erebus in Cup.
So you actually had a pilot able to fly the Erebus that could just hop in that thing and go get it to safety?
Yeah. Shout out to CCP for introducing the fucking skill things that you can buy remotely. So that helped, I believe.
Did they inject it on the spot?
Yeah, they did, and yeah, we got it. It's pretty cool. Hopefully, use it to drop on people that we stole it from. Like we have done. Like, so this guy previously killed a SMA in a carrier drop, and we boarded it, and it was a Turkish court, and yeah, and then I went around that carrier and killed the same Turkish court with their own carrier, which was pretty funny, which got some interesting responses, which kind of motivated me to do it more. And then, yeah, we're hopefully going to do the same thing with the Erebus, but we'll see. We'll see.
All right. Great. Thanks for sharing. All right. Thanks again for hopping on, everybody. I hope everybody enjoyed this. And have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Night.
Thanks,
fellas.
guys.